Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/ProRevenge. In today's episode, got told to fuck off by my assignment group, and that's just what I did. You know what, call the cops. Want the whole bottle? You'll get the whole bottle. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Got told to fuck off by my assignment group, and that's just what I did. I'm on phone, so please ignore the formatting issues. I do a computer science degree at university. We had a group work project which is set out in 2 stages. Part A involved making an application and writing a report about it, 50-50th split. Part B, we got feedback from Part A and had to improve upon it. In total it was 100% of a module. It is also important to note that there is a group contribution report, GCR, where each student puts in how much they think each student has done. I was in a randomly selected group with 4 others. We each picked a parts of the work that we wanted to do. I was apparently the group's most confident coder, so assigned myself about half of the code and finish up my work in about the first 3 weeks and work on other projects I have for other modules. Then soon after I finished my work, the others ask me if I can do their parts of the code too. I initially protest as I have my other coursework due, but eventually I say fine, but so long as it is noted in the GCR they all agree. I sweat it out over the next 3 weeks or so alongside my other coursework. I contacted my module organizer explaining that I had done half the work, and they suggested if people weren't pulling their weight to leave the group, taking my code with me, and do the report. That would mean I would need to work flat out to produce the report and probably would mess it up. I didn't want that. The deadline was in about a week. And I CBA. Then I got asked to do some report too, because they didn't understand how the code worked. By this point I felt pretty used by them. Didn't really mind so long as I got the marks. All in all I worked out that I had done the workload of 3 people. There was talk amongst the others of all writing that we each contributed 20% of the workload to make us look better as a team. I flatly refused. They exploded calling me with every name under the sun, swearing at me, telling me to fuck off. I sent off my GCR with 60 for me and 10 each for the rest. And thought that was that. My module organizer then emailed me asking if I had any proof of this, as they all put me at 0% and themselves at 25%. I'd worked my ass off on this project, putting in 150+ hours on the code and another 50+ on the diagrams and report. All while attending lectures 20 hours a week. Over 7 weeks, which if you do that maths averages at an extra 4 hours a day. On top of all my other assignments and commitments, etc. There was no way I was letting it slide. I emailed him back linking him to the GitHub I used to share the code with the team. GitHub is a source control that shows who made changes to the code, and showed him that all the commits, version of the code, were done by me, proving that I did all of it. And thankfully we did the whole report on Google Drive, so I could also see the history on that document and send him screenshots of all the alterations made by me, proving that I wrote 20% of the report also. He added it all up and made a special exception for my group, saying he would give me most credit for the work. I think I ended up with a 65, and they all get 11 for the whole coursework Part A. They would need 69% to even pass the module. So turned out I fucked up a bit on the code, only getting about 50% of the marks with like a massive issue in it. Dumb me. For anyone interested, I didn't make a MVC structure correctly, but my report sections were near perfect. Spelling mistakes, a common thing I do, and formatting, etc. There were a few glaring mistakes from the report that they had written, but other than that not bad. When they found out their marks, they started calling me up and emailing me and messaging me almost for about 3 hours. I was happily out at the time and didn't have my phone with me, so didn't respond. My module organizer sent an email explaining that they had lied, and he had proof about it, so corrected the marks according. When I got back to my phone I screenshot all the messages they had sent and recorded all the voicemails, including the ones they had sent previously. Including multiple occasions where everyone in the group told me to fuck off. And F off I did. I sent all these voicemails and screenshots to my module organizer requesting that I leave my group, and understand that it is more work for me, but I'd rather not deal with that. He agreed and also escalated the messages to someone higher up. At this point I quit the group, and decided to work on Part B by myself. taking all of my code with me, removing fear access to all of it. I of course asked my module organizer first, and they said it was fine as it was my work, and if I was no longer in Theor group the others couldn't submit it. I fixed the error in the code in about 2 weeks. Then did the whole report from scratch almost and added a load about the fix taking me about 7 weeks. I then get messages from the group to please come back, we really need you kinda stuff on the end few days of the assignment. They even offered to pay me. I screenshot it and send it to the module organizer, just to let him know what is happening, and then just ignore them. I ended up submitting 2 weeks early for the deadline, and got 100% on the whole section too. Which is basically unheard at university, especially by yourself for group work. Later that day I get an email from a plagiarism and collusion officer. Not someone you ever want to get an email from. Basically says I'm summoned to a hearing as an external body looked at both my group, me, myself and I, and my old group's coursework and thought it was very similar. I get the whole project that my group handed in and my own back as evidence, so I can look and prepare my answer to their questions. I email my module organizer, ask if he supports me in this because basically they can punish all of you or one group, never nobody. He says yes, he supports me in this. Perfect. I prepare for this meeting by going through the hundreds of commits I have made while they had access to find the one that is most similar to it. I find a perfect match, 0 differences, not even a single character. Through the thousands of lines of code. So I turn up to this meeting, there is the VP of computing there, guy who could basically do whatever the hell he wants to us. My old group, when asked to present their answer as to why this has happened, go on about how they did all of it by themselves, blah blah blah. You get the point, this goes on for about 10 minutes. Then I am asked to present my argument. I ask if I can share my screen. VP, yeah. Okay. Puzzled. So I share it. Show all the screenshots I took, as some of the people in the meeting weren't aware that we knew each other, including them basically begging for me to come back, offering money to. And as if this wasn't enough to convince them, I then showed me downloading a fresh version of what they submitted, and a fresh version of one of my commits on the GitHub, and running it through a trusted comparison software. I narrated this to explain what I was doing, just to be clear. Took a while but came up as I knew it would, 0 differences. Everyone was stunned. One of the group members uttered, but I just laughed. And was quickly asked to hang up as I was no longer involved. Turned out they had cloned one of my commits and still had a copy on their laptop when I blocked their access, not been able to fix it at all, so just submitted it and hoped for the best. One of my friends who was friends with one from my old group asked what grade they got, and they said that they failed the whole module, as they got a 0 for the second section, giving them just 5.5% overall for the module. You need 40 to pass, and would have to retake it over the summer, costing them and everyone in my old group their placement year jobs. After all, who wants someone who failed a module so badly, and who was intellectually dishonest working for them? This meant that they all lost out on being paid $20,000 each for the year's work. Which goes a long way for a uni student. While I happily get mine. You know what, call the cops. I live in a completely unsoundproofed flat with my wife and kid. We sadly discovered it after moving in because the neighbors weren't there when we visited. Shit happens. As every occupant was aware of it, and we all had small kids, we agreed upon having 3 rules. Noise kept to a minimum between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. on weekends. Same goes starting from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. all days. Warn at least the day prior if you plan a party. Doesn't mean total silence at all. Just not using power tools or blasting music or talking way above normal volume, etc. It went quite okay for 2.5 years. But then the above us neighbors moved. They got replaced by a father in his mid plus 40 and his son about 25 yo. After welcoming them, we warned about the sound issue and the rules to help everyone have quiet time. They said okay and thanks for the warning. Few days goes and the dad bring over his girlfriend, he's divorced, they banged all night. Was making me laugh. But around 1 a.m. that lady started singing. So I went upstairs for a very awkward conversation. I just told the out-of-breath sir that again the building had no soundproofing, and that singing at 1 a.m. was a bit too much after that long evening, and we would really like to sleep now. He went red as possible, and we exchanged few words just saying nobody's mad, but that the sound issue is very real. After that it was okay. But as he realized how much that issue was real, he started going to his GF place on weekends. And his sons started bringing friends over more frequently. We learned he has not one but 3 sons. So 2 of them aren't supposed to live with him regularly. Anyway, as they invited friends over, it was always in party mode. No respect at all for the rules. I went upstairs approximate 10 times in a few months because we were fed up being obliged to sleep with earplugs and having our kid naps ruined. I finally decided to talk about this to their father. He was not happy about his sons and told me he'll talk to them, but also was a bit discouraged and tried to tell me, if necessary, call the cops. I wasn't willing to do so because I'm more about peaceful solutions, and told him that it won't help keep cool relations in the building. First lockdown came to my country. All neighbors decided to flee elsewhere. We had the building for ourselves. That was a great help for our nerves and sleep. We rediscovered what it was to live without noise. End of lockdown, few incidents but enough to make my wife and I so mad at those kids that we weren't talking anymore but screaming at them. Then one of them told me, you know what, call the cops. I didn't do it that time as they shut their noise afterwards. Second lockdown started about 2 weeks ago. No neighbors moved that time. Except for their dad. As soon as he left, we heard more noises than average above us. But not enough to trigger us at first. The second day we realized they were at least 5 young adults in that flat. And they started partying. Not loud music but music anyway. Talking loud to each other from both ends of the flat. Clanging chairs. Slamming doors. Until 1 or 2 a.m. each night. We hope they'll leave soon or at least calm down, but not at all, and no sign of the dad. 10 days in. Our cup was more than full. We went upstairs to again tell them to stop making so much noise, and that it was the last warning. The day after that, same story. I was furious. I screamed at them to shut their music right now, 11 p.m., and that their friends had to leave by tomorrow, or I'll make sure to call the cops. Oh, just call the cops, nobody's moving, we live together as co-renters. Oh really? I called the cops. Lockdown is in effect. You can be with family sure, but not with friends like that, and knowing the building's landlord I was sure their situation wasn't official at all. Cops came. Told them the brothers could stay but the friends had to go back to their place. They gave no fine for this time, but they had to make sure I would not have to call them again. They told me to not go see the neighbors if it happens again, but directly call them back. The next morning we also decided to call the landlord to explain the situation. No father in sight for 10 plus days. At least 3 unknown persons living there with 2 family members. Lot of noise every day and nights. Refusing to make any effort and claiming to be co-renters. Landlord wasn't happy. Told me I was right to call the cops and to warn him about the rent situation. He told me he'll call their father right away. Same day late afternoon I started to hear some movements above. People running left and right. Just before dark I was pleased to see those 5 young adults with their luggage exiting the building and going toward the train station. Cherry on the cake, I saw one of them giving the finger behind him in the building's direction. I laughed so hard. Calm night with a smile on our faces. Want the whole bottle? You'll get the whole bottle. So this story was from about 8 years ago, so my memory may be a little hazy. So I was 18 and working a bar in the town centre somewhere in UK. We're based between 2 of the grimiest pubs and the clubs in there, so we got a lot of dodgy, rude and drunk patrons on a regular occurrence. One night at around 12 a.m. this group of guys come in wearing suits, and I immediately can tell they're pretty drunk and obnoxious. They come to the bar, which was about 2 to 3 deep, around 20 to 30 people waiting ahead of them. They start loudly asking for service even though there's people patiently waiting in front of them. Me and my team just roll our eyes and get back to serving people. I get round to serving them, and they all shout finally. So FING service, what took you so long? I just ignored that comment and asked what they wanted. They then started talking amongst themselves, like they didn't have enough time to work this out while waiting. The ringleader proclaimed that they're going big tonight, so want a bottle of Grey Goose vodka. I said I can only see you a maximum of a double in any one drink. If you want make it stronger, go for it. He ignores the most of what I said and just says, didn't you hear me? 1 bottle of Grey Goose. We can't sell the bottles of spirits under any circumstances. I call the manager up in the back and explain the situation. He says exactly what I've already told the customer, so we agreed that if explained one more time about how I had to give them the drink, and he just said one bottle again, I'd do it. What ringleader didn't realize is that I have to put the whole bottle through as doubles, which was about 8.50 per double without any mixers, so this bottle ended up costing him 170 pounds quid before any mixers when it's only 35 pounds quid in the local supermarket. He throws his hands up in the air saying I've ripped him off, and he's not going to pay that. Why didn't I say anything sooner, etc, etc. I said that I did, and he just fobs me off and goes to walk out. Little does he know I've already asked the bouncers to keep him in the building till he's paid up. His mates laugh at him as he goes white as a sheet, realizing he's just spent a lot of money. His friends give him a little bit money to pay help up. Ringleader then spends the night sulking with his 170 pounds bottle of 30 pounds vodka. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.